Hello friends, and thank you for joining me here at Non-Toxic Home. I'm so glad that you're here. I look like a snowman today because it's freezing outside. I've got a thermal shirt on, I've got two hoodies, I've got my Rogganique sweatshirt and my Rogganique hat, and I'm still chilly. And I went outside with my warm gloves and my wool coat, and I was still cold out there. So apparently I need to still add even more layers. It's that cold to me outside anyways today. I will link below to Rogganique and to our article on clothing. I need to update it, sorry, because this hat is not on there. There are some other things that I've purchased that aren't on there as well. As far as really warm winter gloves, I haven't found any truly non-toxic, really warm winter gloves. I initially, when we were purchasing from Rogganique a couple years ago, I bought the wrong pair of fleece pants, and they had elastic in the waist, and so I was gonna take the elastic out of there and replace it with a drawstring, but of course that's an exposure to latex, and so instead what I'm gonna do is just cut the, just trash the waistband in entirety, and I'm gonna try sewing my own fleece gloves from those pants, because man, they're so expensive, but that fleece is so warm, so I'm gonna try that. That's something to consider if you are looking for some non-toxic gloves. Rogganique does have some decent gloves, but they're not super warm. I've got two different types of gloves from them, and they're not super warm. So, all right, so today I'm recording this as of December 2nd, and this will finish Catch Me Up as far as quick questions go. You can continue to submit quick questions, but just know that it can take a while before they are addressed. So we do, of course, have consultations as well. All right, so we had a question, and this was a really good one. We get some really amazingly intelligent, thoughtful questions here. You guys are really smart, and we have the best subscribers ever because you guys have brains and you're not afraid to use them, which we encourage. So we had a question about clothes hangers. That's a really good question. All right, so we don't have a closet here. I would love to have a closet, but we don't. Clothes hangers. There are a number of options, of course. You can compromise on this potentially. One thing I would recommend against are the hangers that are fabric covered that have foam in them, because foam is just so bad. It outgasses so bad. You really don't want any foam in your house unless you have to have it in your house. Like, for example, in our air conditioners, we've got an article up on air conditioners, window air conditioners. Those have styrofoam in them, and that's it, I think, as far as foam in our house goes. No, we've got a latex-free back roller, which is essential for our backs. For chiropractic purposes, because I can't go to a chiropractor anymore. I can't go anywhere. I haven't left the property since early June 2019. Otherwise, you really want to avoid foam because it just outgasses indefinitely, and it's so bad, which is why it's really hard to find non-toxic furniture. So I recommend specifically against those. I would not compromise and have padded foam clothing hangers. Metal hangers are an option. Of course, they can act as antennas, but that's probably not going to be a big thing. Even if you have Wi-Fi and a slave device, slave phone on your hip, it's probably not going to... Your metal clothes hangers, I wouldn't worry about that. The EMF in regards to that so much. But they aren't so great for keeping your clothing in decent shape. Quite frankly, I've tried them in the past myself. Plastic might be a place to compromise. If you tolerate them, chemically speaking, if you let them outgas in the sunshine for a time, this might be a place to compromise. We compromise here. For example, for food storage, you can only do glass so much, especially if you're a klutz and you break everything like me. And if you have an upright freezer, then you can put things in glass jars and freeze them. We don't have an upright freezer anymore. Ours broke, so we just have a little chest freezer, and glass jars don't work well in a chest freezer. So I use yogurt containers and old sour cream containers, and those containers are 3+ years old, so they are super outgassed. Of course, they're food grade plastic, which may or may not be meaningless, but I tolerate them, and they're not ideal. They're not what I want to use, but I don't really want to spend a whole bunch of money on plastic containers that have to outgas forever for me to tolerate them. That may or may not even be chemically any better than the old yogurt containers and sour cream containers I'm using, just because, you know, you just don't know. There's so much that we just don't know because it just hasn't been researched. So, and if you're wondering about the tin cans of food up here, I don't recommend food in tin cans, and I typically don't tolerate it, generally speaking, but couple years ago, yeah, it was in 2020, when everybody else was freaking out about toilet paper, and I was thinking, what if I don't have any food to eat? Actually, I was having trouble sourcing safe food at all, even getting it shipped here, because I used to order from Thrive Market, which I don't recommend. I used to order from Vitacost, which is chemically way worse than Amazon. Oh my goodness, Vitacost. I cannot tolerate anything from Vitacost. Their stuff just reeks. It is the worst. So I don't recommend those. Like, I was having trouble finding any food at all, and I went ahead and I don't know, spent a couple $100 or something on some canned foods that I sort of semi-tolerated, and so now they're up there, and that's our emergency food stash. So obviously we're super huge preppers around here. We prep spiritually because this is spiritual battle, spiritual warfare. I love you if you not share our faith. So plastic hangers, that was a whole tangent, wasn't it? So plastic hangers, you might consider, if you tolerate that. They are gonna still continue to outgas indefinitely because it's plastic, and it does vary some based on the manufacturer, and especially where you get them from, because if you get them from a place that's fragranced and they're chemically contaminated, like if you get them at a dollar store, super chemically contaminated from dollar stores, as far as my experience goes. Yours could be different, but might be a place to compromise. Maybe. It's up to you. You know, it depends on your budget, it depends on your sensitivity, it depends on how far you want to take things. That's the case for everything. Another option for clothing hangers would be wood hangers. I will look on Amazon, see if I see anything. I'm generally skeptical of wood that comes from Amazon, or not from Amazon, wood that comes from China, because you just don't know. And you know, there are a lot of products that are sold that are declared to be solid wood. They're not solid wood. It's not solid wood. So you really want to avoid any engineered wood, which, as far as I know, I don't remember ever seeing any wood hangers made of engineered wood, but that stuff off gases forever. It's super toxic. You don't want any of that. Engineered wood is plywood, OSB, that sort of thing. You really don't want that in your home. That I would definitely avoid if possible. But wood hangers, it depends on the finish as to whether you're going to tolerate it or not. You know, some wood finishes are pretty toxic. A lot of them aren't too bad. And then there are some that are really wonderful, of course, as far as tolerability goes and the lack of toxicity. So I'll link below, probably, to some. I'm sure I could find at least a couple on Etsy that are made here in the US, or in the US. So if you're elsewhere, I love you. I live in the US, so that's relevant to me. One option that I used to use would be crocheted metal hangers. You can get them vintage on eBay or Etsy for pretty cheap. You can also buy them on Etsy made new. And these are it's literally a wire hanger that's crocheted around. Those are wonderful. My mom for years made them. That's what I used growing up. That's what I used as an adult. And unfortunately, I couldn't keep the ones that I did have because they got fragrance contaminated in the last rental, I believe, maybe the one before. And so that could be a problem buying them off of Etsy. I haven't bought any myself, so I can't tell you personally, hey, if you buy them from XYZ, then they won't be fragrance contaminated, because chances are high they're going to be fragrance contaminated. But you can always contact a seller and ask if they use any candles, any scented products, any essential oils. It never hurts. And sometimes, you know, sometimes there are people in the MCS community and the environmental illness community who do these sorts of things, who crochet, and would be happy to have a few extra bucks. So that's something to consider exploring as well. So metal, in summation, in regards to clothing hangers, metal could be an option as far as toxicity goes. But they don't work well as far as keeping your clothes in good shape. Avoid padded foam hangers. Plastic hangers might be a place you might consider, maybe. Wood hangers, yeah, you could definitely consider those. And crocheted metal hangers would be my #1 pick for clothing hangers. If you crochet yourself, then there you go. You just need some metal hangers, need some wire hangers, and you're good to go, and some yarn. So, all right, I wanted to offer a reminder about why I don't edit videos. I am sensitive to everything, and that includes non-native EMFs. So I'm very limited in the time that I'm able to be at the computer, and that is what I do. That is not what Dave does. And also we just have a mini PC. We don't have like a desktop or even a laptop. Well, we have a laptop, but it's never used because it would just fry me. Even with the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi off, it would still fry me. By the way, precautionary principle, hello. If you think that you don't have a problem with Wi-Fi or other sources of radio frequencies, just because you don't react doesn't mean it's not a problem. These things have long-term impacts, and they are mast cell degranulators. I will link to an article that I have on our website about how radio frequencies are mast cell degranulators. They will set you up to react to other things. And you know, if you're exposed to chemicals and you're already exposing yourself to radio frequencies all of the time, then these things unfortunately work together in a very terrible, terrible way, just as everything else that's poisonous today, like 5G and the you-know-whats are working together. All of these other things work together to harm you. And so if you can avoid it, then follow the precautionary principle. Avoid something that you think, that you know could be harmful. Of course, there's just thousands upon thousands upon thousands of studies demonstrating the harm of radio frequencies, as well as dirty electricity and other sources of EMF pollution. But I just wanted to point that out. Just because you think you don't react doesn't mean it doesn't impact you. Just as if you get something in your arm and you don't die that day, it doesn't mean it doesn't impact you. Shameless plug, our book. I was injured by those things that I cannot say because I'm going to post this to YouTube. And of course, we're also on BitChute. We're on Bright Eon now. We're on Odyssey. We're on Rumble. I think I'm forgetting one. Our Freedom Tube. So we're streaming all of these places because YouTube is going to kick us off. We have gotten a strike because we posted a video about the apostate church a year or two ago. We got a strike for it. Isn't that interesting? Of all topics, we got a strike for that. And of course, otherwise, all of our videos are shadow banned very heavily. And they're shadow banned also not just on YouTube, but on other freedom-loving platforms as well. It is what it is. All right, so, and also in regards to video editing, it's not my thing. I have other things to do. Plenty of other things to do. All right, another question we had about fly screen or window screen. So they specifically asked for an article as I said, my time is on the computer is very limited. Writing an article and doing all that research is pretty labor intensive for me. So I have to be. That's why I'm doing these responses in video form, or at least some of them in video form. There are some questions that I'm not comfortable with discussing publicly, some topics that I don't want to discuss publicly, and some that would be inappropriate to discuss publicly due to the sensitive nature of the questioner, of the subscriber. So try to be sensitive to that. But as far as window screen goes, ours that we have are fiberglass. I don't recommend fiberglass. I'm a hypocrite, I know, right? Well, so the ones that we have were the cheapest windows at the time that we could get. I tried to get aluminum frame windows. At that time in 2017, I was unable to. If I did, they would have cost a fortune. They would have come from another state, and the warranty would have been void because I would not have been using them in a commercial capacity. I would be using them in a residential capacity. If you live out west in the US, at that time, Lowe's, was it Lowe's? I think it was Lowe's, but it could have been Home Depot. I'm pretty sure it was Lowe's, did offer aluminum frame windows at that time, but that's out west. They didn't offer them here, and they wouldn't do anything to help me out. Nobody would do anything to help me out with the window situation here. In wonderful Indiana, corporate friendly Indiana. So I did, of course, do my due diligence. I bought the cheapest windows basically I could get, and they are crappy PVC windows. They have, as I mentioned, fiberglass screens. I didn't know if I didn't want to pay for more expensive PVC windows and then not be able to tolerate them and have to swap them out. So I bought the cheap ones. They outgassed outside on a covered porch in our last rental for a year, probably. And then installed them. And we didn't know, for one, we didn't know if I was going to make it to move into the home at all. And that's not something that we shared with other people at the time. We didn't share what was really going on as far as the fragility of my health at the time. Dave and I both, we didn't know if I was going to make it. And we admitted to each other later after we moved in, like, we weren't sure if I was going to survive the build. We just weren't, because I was using 5 to 7 EpiPens a week in anaphylaxis only, and I was only using them if I couldn't stop GI anaphylaxis or if my throat closed on me. I was in anaphylaxis almost all the time. I had chemical burns all over me, all over my skin. I had psoriasis, just terrible psoriasis, because my immune system was just bonkers. Modern construction, no. And I didn't eat for 8 months. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being in any way deceitful. I truly did not eat for 8 months. I tried everything. I tried the Gershon protocol. I tried juicing. I tried baby food. I tried weeds from the middle of 50 acres of woods. I couldn't, my body rejected literally all food. So how did I stay alive? That's just by the grace of God. And I relied on him for my strength to get through that time. This is something that's discussed in our book, which I will link to below. Poisoned, failed by Western medicine, modern construction, and corporate interests. And that's just one part of it. That's just one part of how it was failed. I was sent home to die multiple times, multiple doctors. I was failed by over 150 physicians easily over the course of my lifetime. So nobody got to the root cause. Well, okay, there's one allergist who addressed yeast, and he was wonderful. I'm pretty sure he's retired now. And he helped me with the yeast issue. He identified that as a root cause. Well, sort of, it's a semi-root cause. Because if you have yeast problems, then it's more than that. But yeah, so anyways, sorry about that spiel. But obviously I'm here. God kept me alive. He wasn't done with me yet. So again, if you don't share my faith, I love you. But we do what we do because of our faith, and I'm alive because of it, because I relied on the Lord for strength. So the windows that we have are unsprayed. They're fiberglass unsprayed. They aren't chemically treated. That's really hard information to get from vendors or manufacturers. Actually, you're probably not going to get that from a vendor. You have to go to a manufacturer for that. And even then, it's questionable as to whether you get that actual information or not. With that said, we're going to put aluminum screen, which I'll link to below. We've bought, I think, 4 rolls of it from Amazon, and it's packaged in a way, and I know you live in Australia, so it could be different there, but it's packaged in a way that it's not like heavily contaminated by the chemicals, by the fragrance in Amazon's warehouses. So aluminum screen is just fine. We're working on our house, and we're going to be putting at least 2 layers over our windows to help deflect microwave frequencies. We have no detectable radio frequencies right now. There is a video and article up on our website, and it's also on YouTube and Odyssey, about broadband. Like, there's a broadband coupler up by the road, and it comes basically undone a bit every now and then, and it results in what they refer to as spark gaps, and I say death rays of radio frequencies, because that emits all the way through the woods back to our house. It's less in the summer, but they fixed it apparently at some point, because I just checked recently, and there's no radio frequencies there now. So we will be putting at least 2 layers over all of our windows on the outside, but I'm not sure how many layers we're going to put up. They'll have to be a compromise, because I'd be good with like 5 or 6, but we also need to see out the window. So if we can see out the window and it doesn't really diminish the light too much, to have 5 or 6 layers of aluminum window screen over our windows, then we're totally going to do it. And continue. Well, I don't have a curtain up here, but I've got less EMF curtains. I can't remember the specific model that we have, but it's like their top model of fabric, and that I just use regular curtain rods and then curtain clips, so I don't have to sew anything. I just use the fabric itself and hang it up, and it's very effective. It is absolutely very effective. So I'll link to that below, and also note the exact product. But it's expensive. It's expensive. So everything's expensive. You also mentioned stainless steel, and yeah, stainless steel is another good option for window screen. Stainless steel is typically more tolerable for canaries than than aluminum siding, but most people do fine around aluminum. Obviously, you don't want to eat off of aluminum. You don't want to have aluminum pots and pans and that sort of thing, because the last thing we need is more metal in our bodies. That's being sprayed down from above as well, of course, and added to everything. So that's a problem. But being around stainless steel, being around aluminum, most people that's fine. But that's most people. That's not everyone. Some people do react to the chemical finish that's put on metal, specifically like stainless steel or aluminum. The stainless steel issue is extraordinarily rare, but we're working with a friend who has to have all new stainless steel has to be sanded, and that includes forks and knives and spoons. Otherwise, she goes into anaphylaxis. I think it's more of a corn allergy issue. I think it's a corn-derived chemical that she's reacting to, but I'm not 100% certain. So if you react to stainless steel, don't let anybody tell you that's not possible. It's absolutely possible. The same thing with galvanized metal. You could absolutely react airborne to any metal, period. Full stop. So that's something to validate, that I want to validate, that you can absolutely react airborne. However, most of the time the issue is the form release oils that are problematic. I started to wash the metal for our home, the roofing metal, but then I realized I didn't need to. the foam release was washed off or something. I'm not sure exactly, but it was just fine for the roofing metal and our gutters, etc. However, the Simpson strong ties that we received well, we received from a lumber company, but they were from Simpson themselves. So it's like they were almost custom made, and they weren't actually custom made, but they're practically custom made because they came directly from a company, and they had this terrible foam release oil, and so I washed them off. I believe I used Dr. Bronner's baby soap, which is a liquid soap that a lot of people tolerate. Some people use TSP. They find that the Dr. Bronner's isn't enough to remove the foam release oils, but generally speaking, just some regular soap is going to be fine. Whatever soap you tolerate usually is going to be effective for that. But usually that's not a problem with the window screen. Doesn't mean it's impossible. You can still react to galvanized or stainless steel window screen. But like I said, I will link below to what we use. I used it, let's see, I used it to put around our chicken and rabbit coop, which I have a short video that I still need to get up about that. I use that to protect them from the microwave frequencies a little bit more. They do have a metal roof, but that just one layer of it definitely made a huge difference, and it's still making a huge difference for the bunnies. Huge, huge, huge difference. White Boy, our bunny, he was having some eye issues, but primarily he was having skin issues, and he was just biting at himself all the time. Poor little fella, I felt so bad. And there were some other issues that we were having. We're still having some issues. It's not a perfect fix because it's not blocking it. If you really want to block it, you need 5 inches of lead. All right, there's a reason why lead paint has been so attacked by our government. And I'm validating lead poisoning, okay? You don't want to eat things from China that is, I'm not talking about the country, I'm talking about kitchen China. You don't want to eat from kitchen China that's got lead in it, that sort of thing, because lead poisoning is a true thing. It is a true problem. But as far as lead paint goes, the attack on that by our government is very strategic because they knew that they were going to be rolling out 5G. And that lead helps to block it is probably the most effective, as far as I know. As far as I know, it's the most effective thing on this plane of existence that helps to block radio frequencies. So yeah, stainless steel or aluminum. Stainless steel is going to be expensive. I would definitely get a roll of aluminum, see if you tolerate it. You can swap out the window screen in the screens of the windows that you have. It's not rocket science. Nothing's rocket science. Even rocket science isn't that complicated. If more people read rocket science, then people would have a lot different beliefs. But the window screens, you can use what you already have and just swap it out. There are tons of YouTube videos and stuff of people who do that online. So it should be pretty simple and easy to do. If not, I'm sure you can buy them for a reasonable price, but I would not go with stainless steel just because of the price issue unless you don't tolerate the cheaper option. So now we're caught up as of this video in regards to quick questions. As always, thank you so much for sharing our information because we're so shadow banned. Be sure to subscribe to our free newsletter, and if there's something weird going on, try a different email address maybe. Technology is just weird these days, and I validate that, and I'm having issues with technology too. So thanks so much for being here. Have a most beautiful and blessed day. Now Toxic out.